गजाननं भूतगणातिसेवितं कपित्थजम्बूफलसारभक्षितं महासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजं। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। Welcome to Dr. Sureshwara. Well, I want to bring you up to speed. We'll have a very quick review of last lesson, number 11. We all saw that Arjuna asked a question on the lakshana or characteristics of a sthita prajna, one with steady mind. And Lord Krishna replied him step by step in very clear terms. His talk was basically in two parts. One on the traits of sthita prajna, and the second part is really on how to become one. So traits, summing up, he said he is one who is happy with himself. He does not seek happiness from outside or external sources. He is happy within, in his own mind. Atmeva evatmana tushtaha. The second lakshanam or trait, he said, is one who is not distressed by either adversity or craves for pleasures, free from attachment and fear and anger. Vita raga kama krodaha. He said that, right? Number 3, he explains how does he interact with the external world. He is one who is supremely above good and evil. Subha Asubham is the word mentioned. Remains calm in extreme happiness, even if he gets a lottery for $10 million, or depressed at evil. Tasya prajna pratishtitaha. How does he talk and behave? Like a wise man, says he can withdraw the senses like a tortoise. Kurmani angani sarvashaha. The second part is more on how to really become one. He talks about how does he sit and walk. Kim asit vrajet kim Arjuna asked, right? Not like a convict in the prison who is craving for sexual enjoyments, but a bold and courageous man who is able to have complete control. Vishaya vinivartante. So, this is the summary of Lord's. So, I want to quickly repeat lessons 60 and 61 to provide the linkages. Yatato hapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramadini haranti prasavam manaha तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्य इन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता these two verses, Krishna talked about the nature of the uncontrolled senses, how they become pramatini, said I said. Mattungira vartha adilinde vandu sonna. Turbulence. Pramatini means turbulence. And how a yogi subdues them through 3 stages. Which are those stages I mentioned? Shravanam,
Mananam, and Nididhyasana.
This is the ultimate. This is the way in which it goes. Samyama, I mentioned, is not suppression but restraining it. There's a big difference. Suppression is dangerous. It leads to depression. So, this is the coverage we have had up to verse 61. Today we will proceed with verse 62. What we was missing? Is there and print out? No.
No,
Or maybe I got the wrong.
I didn't take
There it is, it's there.
Yeah,
I have the overview in the printout, yeah.
Yeah. Just it. I think it's probably. Okay. So, in this lesson, Krishna continues to talk about the potential evils faced by mankind and the chain that leads to destruction and how to eventually attain tranquility amidst this kind of situation. So this is going to be covered in these next 10 verses, and we will be concluding chapter 2 today. So that being said, let's go and recite the verse 62. Dhyato vishayan pumsaha
Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha
Sangasteshu pajayate
Sangasteshu pajayate
Sangat sanjayate kamaha
Sangat sanjayate kamaha
Kamat krodo abhijayate
Kama krodo abhijayate.
Now earlier Krishna talked about the sense organs, basically the 5 senses. Now, these sense organs, it is possible to shut them off. If you don't want to see something, you can close your eyes. You don't want to talk something, you can zip your mouth. You don't want to hear something, you can plug it. You've seen those 3 monkeys Mahatma Gandhi used to keep. I hear no evil, I see no evil.
Yeah,
I
here
don't
no
see
evil.
any
see no
evil. Typically there are 3 monkeys sitting. And sometimes they add the 4th one also. But there is something else which is very difficult to shut down. And what is that? The mind. So he talked about sense organs earlier, but now he is going to talk about the thinking process. What about the mind? How can you control it? It is like a monkey which keeps jumping up and down. So from this verse onwards, Krishna talks about the thought process and how to discipline your thinking process. So if you look at the meaning of these, Dhyato is thinking, Vishayan Pumsaha. Vishayan means basically objects or materials, on objects or materials. Pumsaha is referring to a man. Now Pumsaha means neutral gender. Pumsaha is man. Sankate, Sankam is attachment. Teshu upajayate. Teshu is in them. Upajayate arises. Sangat sanjayate. Sangat from attachment. Sanjayate is born. jayate is rises or born. Is born. Kamaha, desire. Kamat krodho abhijayate. From desire comes anger, krodha. So what happens is a man attaches himself to sense object by thinking about sensual objects, materials. And desire comes from the attachment to those objects. And anger arises from unfulfilled desires. So this is the process which leads eventually to anger. Now, entry of a thought really is feeble when it starts anywhere. It's feeble, it doesn't have strength. But it gets strengthened as you go along. And maybe it takes roots and then it starts sprouting and becomes big. Then you find it's very difficult to control it because it's reached massive proportions. So how to nip it in the bud is what he's going to talk about. So the next verse, proceeding, Krodhat bhavati sammohaha.
Krodhat bhavati sammohaha.
Sammoha smriti vipramaha.
Sammoha smriti vipramaha.
Smriti brahmnasat buddhinasho.
Smriti brahmshat buddhinasho.
Buddhinashat pranasyati.
Buddhinashat pranashyati.
Now, the chain is proceeding with how the chain works. That anger is something like a virus, it starts spreading. And if you don't nip it, it starts spreading like a wildfire, it spreads very fast. And when somebody is angry, you can see how his physical and mental state suddenly transform. Eyes become red, blood pressure goes up, heart starts throbbing. All that which goes up as one gets angry. Now, when I came to US, Sunnyvale, my grandson was just about 3 years old. And there was a computer at home. My son had gone to work and I started working on the computer. So my grandson came fast. Tata, Papa will become mad. So I never realized that mad in this country means anger. I thought mad means, oh my God, he's going to become really mad. He's going to be a lunatic. So I said, what do you mean? Then my daughter explained, in this country, mad means becoming angry. But I think it's most appropriate word, because when somebody is angry, he's really mad.
They are lunatics.
They are mad. They call it mad.
Right.
We don't use that word so much often in India. We say they become angry.
No, now they have
He's
become
upset.
like that.
So now they are adopting the word mad. So this is becomes like a virus. It gets into the habit and then it becomes very difficult to control it. Now, there was an instance of a top executive who was rose up very hard and working, but only weakness was he used to get very angry, shouted his subordinates and so on. So one time he was fired from the job. So he got very disillusioned, disappointed, and he didn't know what to do. So much so, he took to sannyasi, became a sannyasi. So one of his ex-subordinates, out of respect for him, he went and saw him. He couldn't believe this top executive became a sannyasi. So he said, how is it that you became sannyasi? You are roaring like a lion in the office, now you are sitting like a lamb. It's something I can't believe it, I can't. So when you become sannyasi, you have to leave off all these desires and anger. Have you really abandoned all your anger? Yes, I have abandoned. I really can't believe it, sir. It is so difficult to give up anger. Years of working, I know how you used to shout in the office. Is it really true that you have left anger? I said, yeah, of course, I left it. I really can't believe it, sir. I'm telling you again and again and again. So it spurted out because it is something which is already grown, taken deep root, it is impossible to pull it out. He's trying to bottle it up, it is erupted. So that is how it happens. This Krishna, he has covered the importance of controlling the sensory organ, and now he is coming to mind control. And in Shastras, there is certain words are used for a kind of process to control the mind. One is called what is called Dhammaha. No, Dhammaha. Dhammaha means self-restraint. Basically, closing the doors, like you want to secure the home, you close all the doors, you have those sensors which give alarm if there is a prowler. So there are inbuilt sensors in you. So you don't allow the outside things to come inside and upset you. So you put controls. So that process is called Dhammaha. The second stage of it is called Shamaha. Shamaha really means mind control. You know, Samanam they say, Samanam means calming down. Sarvabhada prachamanam trailokya kileshwari evameva tvaya karyam asmatvairi vinasanam. So we have Durga Saptasati, this is the last slogan. Sarvabhada prachamanam, please calm down all my afflictions. It comes from the word Shamaha. So that is the second stage. The third stage is your Niti Prayasanam, where you dwell upon the teachings of Acharyas after having gone through these stages, and ultimately you attain that knowledge. That is how the process is described in Shastras. So here he says, Krodhat, from anger, Sammohaha, Bhavati, Sammoha, confusion or agitation. Sammoha means agitation in the mind, confusion. Bhavati is of course it comes. Sammohat, from the confusion or agitation in mind comes Smriti Vibramaha. Smriti is memory. Vibramaha, loss of memory. You lose memory because of agitation in the mind. You forget things. Because an angry man, he doesn't remember. He loses his discrimination. Smriti Samsharat, from memory loss, Vriddhinasaha, Buddhinasaha. Buddhinasaha is the destruction of intelligence. Or from Buddhinasat, Pranasyati, man eventually perishes because of this. So it is a chain which leads from anger to confusion, agitation in the mind, loss of memory and loss of intelligence, unable to think properly, not having discrimination, eventually the man perishes. The cycle that goes on and which has been beautifully described in this particular verse. Let's move on to next verse, 64. Ragadvesha vimuktasya
Ragadvesha vimuktasya
Vishayani indriyaischaran Atmavashyar videyatma Prasadam adhigacchati. So it's really talking about the benefits of sensory control. Raga Dvesha Vimuktaihi. Raga Dvesha is free from likes and dislikes. Vimuktaisi, free from. Vishayani, objects. Indriyai, those indriyams. Atma Vashyaihi is one who is having self-control, self-restraint. Videyatma is also self-controlled. Prasadam. Prasadam means what? Nama kovil pora prasadam kudrade. Does it mean vadai or pongal or something?
You get the fruit of something.
Benefit.
The
Prasadam
benefits.
really means peace. Peace. That is why I think the word sadam also comes in. When we eat it, we feel happy. Prasadam. Abhigacchati. You know, in Katha Upanishad, there is an example given that the body is like a vehicle, you go like a car. The wheels which move them are the senses. And the steering wheel that you use is the mind. So you are really moving your body like a vehicle with the help of the mind steering wheel, and the senses take you wherever you want them. But you have to steer it properly. If you don't steer it properly, it goes in some direction. Not carefully, but recklessly people go. You know what happens. The same way it says, if one does not control the sensory organs, it is like a car without having a proper driver. The mind goes in different direction and therefore you get into all kinds of problems. So that is a gist of these particular story. A disciplined person who enjoys the sense object with senses that are under control and free from likes and dislikes. He is quite happy with whatever you gave him. He is the one who attains tranquility or peace. So it requires a mental discipline to see everything. As when you see prasadam, there may be salt, there may not be salt. There may be not fully cooked thing, maybe half cooked. You don't find fault with it. Never do that. Whatever is given as prasadam, you take it. It is something which is reflective of the mental attitude. So that is why in Koil Narthar, when you go to temple, they give you prasadam. You just don't take it as anything. If you go to a restaurant, you can. But whatever is given as prasadam, you just take it. So, going further, verse 65, Prasade sarva dukkhanam
Prasade sarva dukkhanam
Hanir asyo upajayate
Hanir asyo upajayate
Prasanna chetaso hyashu
Prasanna chetaso hyashu
Buddhi paryavatishtate
Buddhi paryavatishtate.
Here Lord Krishna is starting with the word prasade. Now, what is the benefit of this prasadam? Why should we get into peace at all? What is the benefit? If it is at least pongal or vada, you can eat it, but this is just peace, something to do with the mind. No, the external world around you, it does not guarantee eternal happiness. That's everybody knows that. We saw in Rudram how an object is perceived as an element of divinity, right? Living and non-living both, everything is viewed upon, which is very rare. Only in Hinduism you got this perception of viewing everything as a part of your mind. The Sthita Prajna is one who does not reject evil. He accepts it because it is a part of the world. We have heard of many saints who were really evil-minded people. They went into all kinds of pleasures, but they never thought about God. Purandaradasa, who is considered the father of Carnatic music, was one such. He was a miserly dweller. Echa kayala kaka vatamata. How do you call it? He will not give even one paisa to anything, you know. If you eat some food and you won't drive a crow because the little rice which is stuck here, the crow will take it away. Such a miser. Arunagirinatha, a very famous Murugan devotee. He was a very useless person. Ultimately, there is about to jump on the top of the temple in Tiruvannamalai. And Muruga converted his mind, became Ajamila. You know the stories. So these are all saints who were really into the path of evil, but who eventually got resurrected and then they became saints. So the Sthita Prajna is one who does not reject evil. If there is some mad person also, you think there is divinity in him. So this particular verse, which says all the sorrows, you see, prasade in peace, sarva dukkhanam, in all distress, in pains, hani is destruction. Upajayate, asya is of him, arises. Prasanna chetaso is the calm minded or tranquility minded. He asu, because soon, quickly, buddhihi paryavatishtate. Buddhi is intellect. Paryavatishtate becomes steady. Tishtate, and becomes strong. So all the sorrows that you have, they get destroyed upon attaining that tranquility or prasadi. The intellect of such a person becomes absolutely steady. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives you an example. You have milk, when you convert it into curd, you put a little drop of curd and then you have to place it very steady at a same place. You can't shift it up and down. You can't agitate it. If you agitate it, it doesn't become curd. You keep it at a particular place, it becomes curd. Likewise, the person with steady mind or the in prasade, in peace, is able to attain tranquility, is able to steady his mind without getting disturbed. So when you want to attain that, your mind has to be steady. You cannot agitate it, either externally or internally. Like the milk which turns itself into curd. So that's example Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives. So let's move on to the next verse. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya,
Nasti buddhir ayuktasya,
na chayu yuktasya shravana,
na chayuktasya bhavana,
nasti buddhir yuktasya,
nasti buddhir yuktasya,
na chayuktasya bhavana,
na chayuktasya bhavana,
na cha bhavayata shantir,
na chabhavayata shantir,
ashantasya kutas sukham.
ashantasya kutas sukham.
See, what happens if one doesn't have that control, if one lacks control, mind? Said mind is a monkey, as is there everywhere. A young man who was very depressed, he couldn't concentrate in studies. So he went to a doctor. He told him, I'm not able to focus, I'm not able to concentrate. I have to finish my exams and all that. Why don't you give me some medicine? He said, I'll give you some medicine. But in one condition, when you take this medicine, you should not think of a monkey. Never think about it. If you think, the medicine will not happen. And every time the person was taking the medicine, he thought only about monkey. So what happens usually if you try to push away a thought or a topic from your mind, you will end up having more thoughts about it. It kinds of comes up. Because you try to push it, it comes back. Rebound. It is called, really psychologists call it as a rebound effect. It's a rebound effect because you are trying to move away, it comes back. So when that comes, you are not able to focus, and unless the mind is available, free to listen, all that I am talking will evaporate. Nothing will stay. So Gita is a more serious subject. It is not like listening to Ramayana or some story where you probably know the story and you say it doesn't matter, even if you don't listen, I know it. But this is a lot more serious. Paramacharya used to say one small verse and one line I remember. Vidya Thuranam na nidra na sukham. Those who are in pursuit of knowledge, they cannot get sleep, nor can they enjoy the pleasures because they are so much focused. People burning the midnight oil, like Umaresh did last night. He was awake till 1 o'clock. So it's not easy. You may have to forego some sleep and some pleasures. Like you are all here, you could have gone to a movie and maybe enjoyed, but then you are all here listening. So Shamaha, Damaha both are essential in pursuing Gita. And Ayuktasya is of the unsteady person. That's what it means. Ayuktasya. Shravana Mananam is not possible for the Ayuktasya, that person who is not steady, who is the unsteady person, it is not possible for him to do Shravanam and Mananam. So here, he is talking about the person who is having neither knowledge or self-perception, and to whom these senses are not under control, he cannot become Nishtita Prajna or Prajna. That is the effect. What happens if one lacks control means he cannot attain the Prajna. Na asti. Not is buddhi, self-knowledge. Ayuktasya, of the unsteady person. Cha ayuktasya bhavana. Na cha is not an end, cha is end. Bhavana is self-perception, thinking, understanding. Na cha bhavayataha, of the unmeditative. Shantir. Here again, Shantir means peace. Ashantasya is without peace. Kutaha sugam, where is the happiness for such a person? So if one lacks self-control, what it means is that he cannot become a prajna. So there is neither self-knowledge nor self-perception to one who does not have sensory controls and whose mind is wandering, he is not focused. And without that self-perception, there is no peace. And without peace, there can be no happiness. This is the gist of the slogan. He is giving you the effect of somebody who does not focus, who does not concentrate. That's why I said Gita is more serious than just listening to. So it's more philosophical in the sense that you have to really understand and be able to understand the inner meaning and then practice it also. Okay, proceeding further to verse 67. Indriyanam hi charatam
Indriyanam charatam
yanmano anuvidyate
yanmano anuvidyate
tadasya harati prajñam
tadasya harati prajñam
vayurnavam ivambasi
vayurnavam ivambasi.
What happens? Indriyanam hi charatam. Charatam means moving, wandering, wavering. What happens if this indriya goes along? If senses and mind start wandering like monkeys and going in different direction, you will go astray. Now Krishna is giving a very nice example here. Example of a boat referring to oneself. If it is caught by winds, and it is on high sea sail, it can take you in any direction. You don't know where it is going to take you because it is the wind direction is not known. It can take you anywhere, or you can be marooned also in an island. You never know. Unless you have a rudder and a power, an anchor, like a guru, who is able to guide you properly. Otherwise, like a boat, you just get drifted. So we talked about Indriyanam, Nigraha, and a lot of people have the mistaken impression that Indriyani Nigraham in Hinduism, we talk about complete suppression of senses. You shouldn't really have any of these. Like a sannyasi, he said that you have to really completely forget about all senses. Not really so. He is talking with Nigraha, it is not suppression, it is only control. Tamil they say, Kalavum Katru Mara. So even stealing, you should learn, but then forget it. At least you should know. All things have to be known. It is not really suppression. If there is a flood coming in, you have to regulate it, not completely stop it, because it will be a disaster. It will overflow completely. When I was a kid in my home, we had an overhead tank. In those days there was no pump, the water pressure was so high it will go automatically to the overhead tank. And then we used to get the water supply. And there was an overflow pipe. One day it started overflowing. And the maintenance was all done by government maintenance section, because my father was a government officer. So he called up and they said we will attend it. One fitter came, and apparently the ball valve inside which controls the level, it wasn't working. He didn't know what to do, and then he went and did something. The next day it was continuing to overflow. So my father had to call up again and say this is not working. So the second day the plumber came, and I still remember. So he said, Saab, abhi aaj theek kar denge, I will make it all right, don't worry about it. So he asked for a piece of wood and some cloth and all that, and there was a lot of noise going on. My mother said, I think he has fixed it, then went away. My father had come from the second shift around 12 o'clock. He was sleeping, suddenly we found water pouring inside. What this person had done was, he plugged the overflow pipe with a wooden peg and cloth, and he hammered it inside. He said, this is the one which is causing all the problem, so plug it, so you don't have any problems. So if you suppress like that, it is bound to overflow. It's something which should not be done. You allow it, it has to be regulated. Therefore, here Krishna says, the mind, when controlled by wandering senses, steals away your knowledge, prajna, as a storm takes away a boat from its destination, which is a spiritual source for us. So, indriyani charatam yanmano anuvidiyate. Anuvidiyate means as follows, which mind follows. Asya harati, carries and takes away. Prajna, your consciousness or discriminative power. Vayur means wind, like a wind. Navam means boat, it takes away. Ambasi is water, like a boat in a water, the wind takes it away into unknown destination. Same way, the uncontrolled mind is thrust away. So you can't totally suppress it, you have to regulate it. And that is the gist of this sloka. Going further, Tasmat yasya mahabaho
Tasmat yasya mahabaho
Nigrihitani sarvasaha
Nigrihitani sarvashah
Indriyanam
Indriyanam
Indriyarte
Indriyarte
Abhyastasya
Abhyastasya
Prajna Pratishtita.
Prajna Pratishtita.
So what should one do with the senses? Said not shut off completely, but channelize them. You know, when we do Ruddham or do any kind of puja, even recite Lalita Sahasranamam, we do what is called Nyasam. What is Nyasam?
Calm and steady, the focus.
Control.
Control.
It is a kind of what you call sublimation. In English word you can say sublimation. Actually sublimation in real language means if you have a solid substance and it is turned into gas straight away, it is called sublimation. But in this case, these nyasa mantras are used to invoke divinity in various parts of the body. It induces energy, and it means transformation of unwanted impulses into something less harmful. Into something less harmful. The impulses are all through your sense organs. And when you do nasam, the sublimation, you invoke those divinities in those respective bodies, here, 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 here. So, you invoke the divinity in order to make the forces of impulses less harmful. That is what the real meaning is here. So likewise here, tasmat, therefore, yasya, whose Mahabaho is referring to Arjuna, the mighty armed Mahabaho, nigrihitani, subdued, restrained, sarvasaha completely, indriyani, the senses, indriyat arthebhyaha, from the sense objects, from the sense objects. Tasya, his, prajna, again intellect, pratishtita, is steady, firmly installed. Therefore, O Arjuna, once prajna becomes steady, whose senses are completely withdrawn from the sense objects. It's actually a repetition of what he says. He is summarizing now. The repetition of what he said. But this is something which is being elaborated in later Karma Yoga, which is going to be in chapter 3, and also chapter 6 is coming up again. So proceeding further, let's go to 68. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha paschyato munehe. Nisha means night. Now he's talking about what makes a jnani unique, in terms of his qualities. While the world is same for everyone, how does the jnani look at it? Ya nisha sarva bhutanam, when it is night for everybody, sarva bhutanam. Tasyam jagrati samyami. In that night, Jagrati is awake, being alert. Jagrati in Tamil Solondia, it's coming from the same word, Jagrati. Jagrati. Samyami is somebody who is controlled, self-controlled. Yasyam, in which, Jagrati again aware, Bhutanam, all living beings, Pranihal, having prana. Sanishaha, that night, Paschataha, sees Munehe, of the Muni. So, when it is night to everybody, the self-controlled or the disciplined man is awake or alert. When somebody is sleeping, is very casual, he is not very serious about something, but the jnani is awake, he is still alert. You see some of these great people, they are alert even in the night. I have seen some of these saints, sages also. They don't sleep much, they sleep very little. They are keeping alert themselves. When all others sleep, Paramachari used to get up at 3:30 in the morning, and he didn't require an alarm at all. He get up on his own. You talk about the sages who are aware of something of which others are not aware what is happening. The knowledgeable person responds differently. In fact, he responds totally opposite manner which others react to. It's like they say, viewing a glass which is half full or half empty. Some people say the half full, some people say it is half empty. Same way the jnani and ajnani view it differently. So here, jnani is aware of the thing about which others are unaware. He is giving the example of night to say, which is ignorance. Night is ignorance. A person who is ignorant is not able to see things as a jnani sees. A jnani sees, who is unaware of that experience, whatever of sense objects, about which others are aware. There are certain things which others are aware, but the jnani is unmindful of that. And he's not aware, he's unmindful of that. You know, if you see a movie sometimes, you get carried away. A lot of serials, you see, the women get carried away, somebody is crying, and the actress or the heroine is put into all kinds of problems. And the people who see it also start weeping. Especially Tamil movies, you find that a lot of crying will be there. The audience get carried away because there is somebody suffering on the screen, not really realizing it's only a movie and it is on a screen. This is what is happening in real life. The person who is aware, this is after all, it's only me. Why should you cry? She is crying, but why should I cry for that? I don't have to cry because there's somebody else crying on, and it is only a blank screen after all. And they are only acting. That part of it is forgotten by many people. But the real person who has a steady mind sees what is real and what is unreal. So a jnani sees it the same way. So that is the gist of this particular verse. Proceeding further. Now this is a very important verse because it is really the gist of this entire chapter 2. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Samudramapaha pravishanti yadvate
Samudramapaha
pravishanti
Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Sashantim apnoti na kamakami
Sashantim apnoti
kamakami.
It's really condensing what is the result of attaining peace. Puryamanam. Purya is full, it's filled with water. Apuryamanam. All over, filled with water. What is filled all over with water?
Ocean.
The ocean. The ocean is always full of water. No matter whether there is a river flowing into it or many rivers are flowing into it. It doesn't lose. There are many rivers coming in and the ocean remains the same. If no river is coming also, it's there as it is. So here the jnani who is with fullness, he doesn't mind whether there is something coming in or something going out. He is same, full. Apuryamanam. Achalam pratishtam. Achalam means steady. Arunachalam doesn't move. Chalam means moving. Achalam means not moving. Achalam pratishtam, based in steadiness. Samudram is ocean. Apaha is water. Pravishanti, enter. Yadvat as tadvat, so likewise. Kamaha, desires. Come whom? Pravishanti, enters. Sarve, all. Shantim, peace. Na, kama kami, desirer of desires. So one attains peace in mind. All desires enter without creating any disturbance. When the river enters, all the rivers enter the ocean, there is no disturbance. Sea accepts it. The same way as river waters enter the full ocean without creating a disturbance. One who desires mental peace is somebody who has to shun away the material objects, and he who desires material object is never peaceful. That's what the last line is. Shantam apnoti na kama kami. Desirer of desires is never peaceful. So this is actually a condensed version of the entire chapter 2. Going further, now you heard so much, now we are going to actually conclude chapter 2. I might ask the question now. How do you know whether Gita is really getting beneficial? Is he really getting benefits, or is he getting bored, or what is the use of telling all these? It's all too much going above my head. I can suggest a 4-way test. Check yourself. Number 1 is that, now you get upset for something or other. It is not, everybody is not mighty happy and not having any disturbance. The first is the frequency of emotional disturbance or upset, is it becoming less or more after listening? First test. You can check yourself, and you can probably note it in a diary if you like, or in a computer. Second is the intensity of such disturbances becoming more or less. If it is becoming more, I think you stop listening to this. It should become less. 2, do you really feel physically and mentally better? And number 4, when you get upset over something, there is a kind of a recovery time. Sometimes it takes 1 day, sometimes it may take 1 month, sometimes it may take even 1 year, sometimes it may take even several years. When somebody insults you, you hold a grudge against him. Oh, this man, as I told you 10 years back, somebody saw right now, sir. So you hold a grudge, and that is leaving a mark in you, which you don't forget. So that is called recovery time. Now, is this recovery time becoming less or getting extended? So it's kind of a 4-way test that you can do yourself and see what answers you get. So you know whether you are progressing with listening to Gita or you are not progressing. So these, before moving on to the last concluding verses, I thought I should tell you this. Okay, we go to the next verse, the last 2 verses. Vihanya kamanyaha sarvan.
Vihaya kamanyaha sarvan.
Pumam charati nisparaha.
Pumam sharati nisparaha.
Nirgamo nirahankaraha.
Nirmamo nirahankaraha.
Sashantim atigacchati.
Sashantim adigacchati.
Now, who is really qualified to become a jnani? Is there a restriction on the type of person? Yeah, Puman, he says, no? Puman is, I told you earlier also, what it means is man. Yeah, Puman means that person Yeah, means that. There is no restriction of the class which is mentioned here. There is no restriction. Anybody, any class, any caste, any education. The only requirement is that nirahankaraha. Nirahankaraha means what? No identification of one's own self or body. It is mine. Ahankara means, aham means me. The feeling of identification of yourself with everything. Nirmamaha. Mamata, ego. I. It's all mine. You know, a lot of people think that. Ego. So the only requirement is you should not have ahankara. Secondly, mamatai or ego. So here it talks about that. Nirmamaha nirahankaraha. So you should think that people came into this world without anything and people go without anything. It's only for the intermediate period when you say, I own this, I own a house, I own a car, I own this, I own that. It's only for the sake of living in the world we say it's ownership, for legal purposes. But really speaking, you don't own anything. So every little thing is God given. If you take a house, for example, the wood that you get, who has produced the wood? It is not man who has produced it. Maybe the trees are grown, but who grows the trees? There is earth, water. These are all given by whom? It is provided by someone who you don't know. You say you can build it, yeah, but the raw materials have come from somebody where you don't really claim as it was, because it is there. So, nothing belongs to me is a kind of a feeling that one should get eventually. So, nirmamaha, no. Nirahankaraha. When you give dakshana to Vadya, na mamaha you say, it's not mine, it's all yours. Na mamaha. So, this is a verse which talks about who can become a jnani, one who becomes nirahankaraha, nirmamaha. The last verse, actually Krishna concludes his instructions with this last verse. It is talking about attaining the ultimate status of Brahman. No more conflict. So this is the last verse. So let's move on to that one. It is summing up actually the entire chapter. In fact, chapter 2 is an executive summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita, as I told you earlier. It is, this is summary of Sthita Prajna's profile of what he is. Yesha Brahmi Sthitihi Partha
Esha Brahmi Sthitihi Partha
Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati
Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati
Sithishvaya Kale Sithishvas Yamanta Kalepi Brahman Nirvana Mrichyati. So he is talking about Partha. He is addressing Arjuna. It's a final concluding verse which summarizes what is Sthita Prajna ultimately. O Partha, this is the state of Brahman. Attaining this, nobody is bewildered, nobody is really unhappy. Establishing oneself even in the last moments of one's life, a person merges with Brahman. What Buddhism called Nirvana. Is also using the word Vimukhyati, Mukti, Brahma Nirvana. Brahma Nirvana Muchyati, this word is Brahma Nirvana. Oneness with the Brahman or Almighty. Antakale, at the end of life. Sitva being established, he attains the state of Brahman. No. In Hinduism, the objective of everything that we do is eventually to attain mukti, as I call it. It means no rebirths. We don't want to be reborn because punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Adi Shankaracharya said. So we look forward to that. Even though we may not eventually reach that stage, at least aim for the sky so that you can land on the rooftop. You get a prajnaha, which is knowledge, out of listening to this, so that you get mental peace, very able to progress, and some stage, you never know when it happens. Some people attain Siddha Prajnaha when they are very young. Adi Shankaracharya had it at the age of 5. Our own Kanchi Paramacharya attained it when he was 13 years old. He was inducted into sannyasa. He continued to be Siddha Prajnaha. There are people who attain it very late stage. After they become 75 or 80 years old also, they attain that stage. You see some of the sannyasis who have become that way. While your idea is not to become a total sannyasi, but at least you can have a steady mind. That is possible. Even Grihasthas, there are people with steady mind. You don't have to really take only sannyasam. There are people with steady mind, even taking the... So with this, we conclude chapter 2. Om Tat Saditi
Om Tat Saditi
Srimad
Srimad
Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu
Bhagavad Gita Shu Upanishadsu
Brahma Vidyayam
Brahma Vidyayam
Yoga Shastre
Yoga Shastre
Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
Sankhyo Yoga Nama
Sankhya Yoga Nama
Dvitiyo Adhyayaha
Dvitiyo Adhyayah
Hari Om Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha
Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha.
Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam
Govinda Govinda.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
You know, I liked your word that chapter 2 is the executive summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Having read Bhagavad Gita and using in a course that I teach for the MBA students, I like the one verse there, verse number 47 in chapter 2, Karmanya Vadakarasya. It's a very powerful, I think, verse for real life as a practical application. You know, you do your duty and leave the results to be summarized. And unlike the American concept, which says anyone can be the president, it sounds so good to hear that.
Right.
But in real life, you know, most people, 99.99%, cannot be a president. So usually when you have that open ambition and it doesn't happen, frustration sets in. And then the other results that you have indicated for frustration happens. So therefore I emphasize to these MBA students, this verse, you do your work and just leave the results, you know. That way you can keep on moving. And I give them practical example. You know, are you all sportsmen, cricketers even here?
Yeah, we have all the
You know,
relatives.
I used to be a cricketer, a contemporary of a great cricketer called E.S. Prasanna, an off-spinner bowler. You know.
Yeah, Prasanna. Beautiful, you know.
Yeah,
totally
and,
beautiful.
you know, we were on same, not same college, but same university college teams, you know, and of course Prasanna was somewhat a role model for me at that time, you know, because I had similar ambitions, you know,
Yeah.
just like this, the people say you can be a president, you know.
Right.
And of course, in 1 year he played for the college, he played for the varsity, there used to be a team called A-team, you know, so the Karnataka A-team, so there was Mysore A-team,
Right.
and then Ranji Trophy, and you know, Diruk Trophy, and then Test, and then went to, West Indies. So it was a dream come true. So people ask me, yes, you're a contemporary of Prasanna, what did you do? I said, I went nowhere. So I'm saying is your ambition has to be a function of the reality, you know.
Right.
And you should recognize the limitation,
Very true.
and then, you know, like I said, leave it to God so you can go into another area. So So I think if we all follow that verse 47, I think we will have more peace of mind.
Right.
Because definitely we will not be successful in everything we do. So,
Right, I think it's a very good point. It is also the essence of chapter 2 that is so beautifully depicted. Of course, results in this particular case, nobody works without expectation of results. But if the results don't match your expectations, don't worry about it. Say it is given to God.
in most cases, results never match expectation.
Right.
Because when you do a project for 7 days, working 24 hours, you expect some kind of a reward. And whatever reward they give you, it seems less than what you expect.
Right.
So, so we look for perfection, I think, in others, while we have so much imperfection within
Right.
ourselves.
Beautifully put, Doctor. Very nice. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
think that
Thank
deserves
you.
a hand.
So,
Very good. Thank you.